Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into a critical topic, the 10 fastest collapsing countries in 2025. These nations aren't just teetering on the edge, they're doing a full-on trust fall into the abyss. Stay tuned to find out which nations are on the brink and why, because as we're about to learn, it's rarely just one thing. Let's start with country A, a nation that frankly makes a panic room look like a sensible investment right now. Once a beacon of hope and prosperity, it has now become a cautionary tale of what happens when things go terribly wrong. The streets that were once bustling with activity now echo with the silence of uncertainty and despair. Act one of this tragedy, their economy. Once robust and thriving, it has now crumbled under the weight of mismanagement and corruption. The stock market has plummeted, and the currency has lost its value at an alarming rate. Imagine a house of cards built on a foundation of jelly during an earthquake. That's the current state of their financial system. Every attempt to stabilize it only seems to make it wobble more precariously. That's country A's GDP, folks. Once a symbol of growth and potential, it has now taken a nosedive, leaving the nation in a state of economic freefall. The numbers are not just declining, they are in a tailspin. Inflation is making their currency worth less than a screen door on a submarine. Prices for basic goods have skyrocketed, making everyday life a struggle for the average citizen. People are finding it increasingly difficult to afford even the most basic necessities. And unemployment is so high, they're thinking of renaming it national employment. The job market has dried up, leaving millions without work and without hope. Families are struggling to make ends meet, and the future looks bleak. Their political system, let's just say it makes a food fight in a middle school cafeteria look like a model UN assembly. The government is in disarray, with infighting and corruption at every level. Political protests have become a daily occurrence, as citizens demand change. Corruption is so rampant you practically need a bribe just to make eye contact with a government official. It's a system where money talks and integrity walks. The trust in public institutions has eroded to the point of no return. Ethnic tensions are simmering like a pot of neglected stew. Different groups are at odds, and the lack of effective governance has only exacerbated these divisions. The social fabric of the nation is tearing apart at the seams, and the gap between the haves and the have-nots is wider than a hippopotamus in a yoga class. The wealthy continue to live in opulence, while the poor struggle to survive. This stark inequality is fueling further unrest and dissatisfaction among the populace. Now, let's hop over to country B, where recent events have been about as welcome as a skunk at a picnic. First, there was the whole disputed election thing, which went about as smoothly as a bear riding a unicycle on a tightrope. Then, just as things were settling down, a massive corruption scandal erupted, implicating everyone from the president's pet parrot to the guy who waters the plants at the National Museum. Next up, we have country C, a nation that's become about as popular on the world stage as a pack of expired mayonnaise in a heatwave. They've been hit with so many international sanctions, their economy looks like it lost a fight with a particularly aggressive stapler. The sanctions have led to shortages of everything, from basic necessities like food and medicine to luxury items like, well, everything else. The value of their currency has plummeted faster than a skydiver with a faulty parachute, and the black market is thriving like a cockroach in a dumpster fire. Our Chapter 4, Country D. Mother Nature is not messing around. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to enter the Thunderdome of climate change, and Country D is driving the Mad Max-style vehicle straight into the environmental apocalypse. This isn't just global warming, this is global scorching, and Country D is strapped to the grill. They've been hit by a perfect storm of environmental disasters, each one more devastating than the last. Droughts so severe they make the Sahara Desert look like a water park, and temperatures so high you could bake cookies on the sidewalk. Chapter 5, Country E, where corruption is king, and Queen and Prime Minister and... Our Country E, a land where the beaches are pristine, the culture is vibrant, and the government is more corrupt than a used car salesman with a gambling addiction. From rigged elections to shady backroom deals, Country E is a shining example of what happens when greed and power go on a no-holds-barred shopping spree with the national treasury. Chapter 6, Country F, civil unrest. It's not just a band name anymore. Country F, a nation where the only thing more volatile than the political climate is the active volcano situated just outside the capital city. We're talking about a country where civil unrest isn't just a simmering pot of discontent, it's a full-blown pressure cooker of rage. Years of oppression, inequality and government incompetence have finally reached their boiling point, and the streets are filled with protests and demonstrations. The government, meanwhile, is responding with all the grace and subtlety of a rhinoceros in a china shop. Country G, a nation once touted as the next big economic miracle, is now facing a downturn so severe it makes the Great Depression look like a slight dip in the market. Once a beacon of hope and prosperity, Country G is now grappling with an economic crisis that has left its citizens in a state of shock and despair. The once bustling markets and thriving businesses are now shadows of their former selves, struggling to stay afloat in these turbulent times. The stock market is plummeting faster than a piano dropped from a skyscraper. Investors are in a state of panic, watching their life savings evaporate in a matter of days. The financial sector, once the pride of Country G, is now a scene of chaos and uncertainty, with experts scrambling to find solutions to stop the freefall. Unemployment is skyrocketing like a SpaceX rocket, only instead of reaching for the stars, it's heading straight for a black hole of economic despair. The job market has dried up, leaving millions without a source of income. Families are struggling to make ends meet, and the social fabric of the nation is being stretched to its breaking point. And the government? Well, they're about as useful as a chocolate teapot in a heat wave. Bureaucratic inefficiencies and a lack of decisive action have only exacerbated the crisis. Citizens are losing faith in their leaders, who seem more interested in political infighting than in addressing the urgent needs of the populace. Years of unchecked speculation, risky lending practices, and a healthy dose of good old-fashioned greed have brought Country G to its knees. The once thriving economy is now littered with abandoned buildings and closed shops, stark reminders of the prosperity that once was. The road to recovery will be long and arduous, requiring not just economic reforms, but a fundamental shift in the way the nation approaches growth and development. Chapter 8. Country H. Too many people, too few resources, and a whole lot of trouble. Welcome to Country H, where the population is growing faster than a chia pet on steroids. But, unfortunately, the resources aren't exactly keeping pace. We're talking about a demographic time bomb, folks. A ticking clock of too many mouths to feed, not enough jobs to go around, and a strain on resources that would make even the most optimistic environmentalists reach for the panic button. The result? Mass unemployment, social unrest, and a whole lot of people who are understandably quite cross about the whole situation. Chapter 9, Country 1, Foreign Intervention, because sometimes you need a helping hand that also picks your pocket. Country 1, a nation that's become synonymous with the phrase caught in the crossfire. For decades, Country Y has been the plaything of more powerful nations, each vying for control of its resources, its strategic location, and its general ability to be a pawn in their geopolitical chess game. The result? A country where the economy is controlled by foreign corporations, the government is riddled with corruption, and the people are caught in a perpetual state of dependency. Chapter 10. Country J, everything was fine, and then the bottom fell out, literally. For years, Country J was the envy of the world. They had it all. A booming economy built on a single, lucrative industry, a stable government, and a standard of living that most people could only dream of. But then, disaster struck. The industry that had been the bedrock of their economy collapsed faster than a souffle in a wind tunnel. The money dried up, the jobs disappeared, and the once gleaming facade of prosperity crumbled faster than a cookie in the hands of a particularly enthusiastic toddler. The future is now, and it's looking a bit wobbly. As we look around the world today, it's clear that we are living in unprecedented times. The global landscape is shifting rapidly, and not always for the better. So, there you have it. 10 countries teetering on the brink, 10 cautionary tales about the fragility of nations, and 10 reasons why we should all be paying attention to what's happening in the world around us. From economic crises to political instability, these nations are facing challenges that could have far-reaching consequences. The challenges they face, economic instability, political turmoil, climate change, and social unrest, are not isolated incidents. They are interconnected issues that have the potential to impact us all, no matter where we live. Social unrest, driven by inequality and injustice, is a symptom of deeper problems that need to be addressed. These global issues require global solutions, and it's up to all of us to take action. Ignoring them won't make them go away. In fact, turning a blind eye only allows these problems to grow and fester, making them even harder to solve in the future. The time to act is now, while we still have a chance to make a difference. Whether it's through community efforts, policy changes, or individual actions, every step counts.